Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spirit Coffee Talk. My name is Lisa Richmond, and today I am with Elyse, and we are two of the three that generally meet every Friday morning for Spirit Coffee Talk. Ginette cannot be with us today. She is dancing her heart away. So we wish her all the luck and love, sending her our hearts. And so Elyse and I were just like in it. We were just in a combo. And I'm like, Elyse, we need to press record because you just went off with like the best channel of message ever. And so I really want you to go back and do that again.
Well, why don't you start by setting the stage?
Okay,
I'm
I
gonna
will set the
regroup.
stage.
I was just saying to my
Essentially,
guides, I'm
what
like,
we're
can you bring that through
yeah, what
again in
we're
like 5
talking
minutes?
about. Okay, so everybody, now you get to join us on this like wicked conversation we're having. Okay, so essentially, what Elise and I were talking about is the fifth dimensional, third dimensional, 3D, 5D kind of consciousness shift. We've talked about it a ton. We are ascending. There is no doubt about it that there is a multi-dimensional aspect of our humanhood happening right now. And the split is happening on a very, very obvious level. But we are talking about how multidimensional aspects of selves are experiencing both the 3D and the 5D simultaneously, and how difficult it can be when it's almost like an extreme. Like we get these bursts of fifth dimensional ascension parts of ourselves, and we are integrating into this like beautiful consciousness, and we are aligning ourselves with these higher vibrations. We're getting downloads, we're having spirit communication, and then all of a sudden we will experience, and like a flash, this really dense third dimensional aspect of humanity and what's going on. And it's almost like it's harder because before, when there wasn't so much of that split, it's like we could still receive and integrate into fifth dimensional concepts, but there was more of an overlaying energy in which we all kind of hung out on, so that when we experience some of the depths, we didn't experience it so overexposed to this like darkness, and we weren't exposed to this like really high frequency as well. So I think that how I've experienced it over the last couple weeks is like bursts of extreme highs and integration and downloads from this level of consciousness that is beyond anything that I could ever imagine or experience or even explain, use human words to explain. But then when you see the openings of some of this darkness, it is received in like a side swipe, like an absolute sucker punch right to the face. Didn't see that coming, because we are trying to live on this earth in a multidimensional way, and trying to integrate multiple aspects of this dimensional shift, right? And it can be hard. It can be actually more difficult than having a little bit of the illusion or a little bit of the veil being thicker over you, so that you're not experiencing things so extreme. But at least you have this wicked download come through. Can you kind of re-explain how you've seen it or how you experience this
Mhm,
5D, 3D shift as a human?
yeah. So and in past we've talked about like what does 5D 3D look like, and a lot of spiritual speakers, seekers out there would talk from the perspective of it's like this separation, and like you're going to the 5D and you're da da da. And we've talked on Spirit Coffee Talk about like we're still going to live on this earth, right? And how like this physical Mama Gaia, and how we can exist in different energetic experiences within the same physical place, right? Also knowing that like what the hell is real, really. But there's been a lot of talk around you have to like only look towards the light, and what do you want to create, and focusing on like what do you want to experience in the 5D. And for me there was always something that didn't sit great with that, because I'm like I can't turn away from the very real suffering of people. And you could go down a whole rabbit hole about like their souls chose this or blah 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 blah. And I think it's a lot more complex than just like we chose this and that's, the experience that we've created. I think, and I've spoken to that in pieces before, that it's a lot more than that, and I think that that's overly simplistic. And so when we look at the stuff that is happening in the world right now, like on every corner of every, part of the circle, the globe, it's a lot. And like you said, Lisa, there's a lot of darkness and a lot of really tough stuff to witness and bear witness to and hold. And I think for some people, I'll hear this like, well, I don't know how to see that and look at these things while still holding this like frequency of what I want and da da da, from this 5D energy that we're moving towards. And so for me, a lot of the people that kind of had a rhetoric of like, it never was explicitly ignore it and turn away, but it was just focus on what you want. And I think our human brain goes, okay, well, I don't want to have those things happen in the world that I'm going to, so I'm going to turn towards all of these other things. And for me, I just feel, and what was coming through was this idea of like, it has to be all, right? A lot of people who tune into, all of the galactic beings and civilizations and things that are happening outside of this universe that are of a higher frequency than what we might say Earth is, there's wars, there's harmful things that happen, there's dissension, there's different vibrations that happen. It's not all like la la la, lovely airy fairy, right? Without dark there's no light. They have to coexist together. So I think that having this idea of like the energy that we're going to as we're ascending is only going to be love and light is not necessarily accurate. And that we have to, and I think why a lot of it's coming up, especially as we're in this place of like energetic opening and conscious evolution, is because for those of us that maybe look at those things and have an understanding of trauma or have an understanding of human suffering, or maybe we lived certain aspects of that suffering ourselves, we can teach our brains, our bodies, our spirits to hold both. Not turn away, not say like, oop, don't like that, don't want to see that, gonna turn towards this. We can witness, we can bear witness to the very real darkness and suffering of humans on this earth. Hold the energy of they don't deserve that, and they can choose, not choose, they can access a different experience just as anyone can. And maybe they're not in a position to do that. Maybe they don't have the awareness yet or the knowledge, or maybe it's just so vastly unsafe. They're just looking for their own physical body safety in any given moment. And this like choose your reality is just not part of their experience right now. We as these people can open our hearts and say, I bear witness to what's happening to you. I love you. And I'm so sorry this is part of your human experience right now. And I'm going to transmute it for you. I'm going to hold this energy. And that feels shitty. That's hard. That's heavy. But I'm going to take that into my heart and not take it on. I don't mean it as like wear it on your backpack and just like slouch around. But like, I'm going to be the transmuting piece of that for you. And I'm going to hold your sorrow or your grief or your pain. And I'm going to transmute it and know that as I'm turning towards what I wish for this world, for my world, for a greater collective consciousness, that that is not part of it for you. And I'm going to transmute that in which I'm holding for you and for everyone and for myself and for my dogs and the planet and the trees and all the things. I'm going to transmute that forward.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're in this middle sticky ground where we're like, what do we do with it? And it's like, it's the transmutation and the projecting it forward. That to me is full scope spirituality and how we shift collectively, because not everyone is in a place where they can mentally, emotionally, physically access that type of experience. And so it's our, I think, responsibility to do it for us, for them, for everyone.
Yes. I love that. That was so heartfelt, Elyse. Oh, did I ever feel that?
Hmm.
And just the like the visual representation that came through when you were talking was like holding your space, grounding into Mother Gaia, and like having that conscious intention to be, I, on behalf of Creator and the God energy that lies within all of us, take in the pain and suffering to transmute into love, and then like visualize this like love energy encapsulating the whole earth and just like sending it out and like down through your feet, so it feels like this ingoing and outgoing vibrational of love. And that is, you're right, that is spirituality. Not necessarily turning and being like, that feels icky, so I don't want to see it. If it's come up, then like take that, because otherwise that energy does get stuck in your body. And
Hmm.
when we are over exposing ourselves to negative information that's coming in, that is not good for your nervous system. That is
Hmm.
not good for yourself, because you are taking it in and your cells and your body is holding on to it,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And so on one hand, it's like we can try, when we know the knowledge, we know what's going through, and we feel this thing that's come in, and we're like, okay, I've been exposed to it. I see this, the presence of this that's happening. Now what to do with it? You can
Totally.
transmute it into, that form of energy that can be received by eternal love to be transmuted. Absolutely, with that intention, I take that intention, and that is like the best we can do with it, and
Hmm.
send out that love vibration, because we are all connected by that. We all are. And so, absolutely, that ripple effect occurs. But if we don't, then it does stay in your body, and our body can hold on to collective trauma,
Hmm.
and it gets real heavy.
Hmm.
So, also be really, really um, intentional about what you're bringing into your state of awareness as well. So you can ask your guidance team on a daily basis, please protect my energy and allow me to only integrate to bring through anything for my greatest good and the greatest good of all, because you don't need to have a steady flow of traumatic information come through, because you think that that is the purpose for it either. Because like it's a fine line,
Totally.
right? Like be aware of what you're watching, be aware of what you're bringing in on a regular, the information that you're bringing in. And some of us are being called to be the transmuters, some of us are, and you will know that, you'll know that you're able, and you will be guided, and it'll be something that is like almost like you just know what to do, right?
Hmm.
And so we all have different missions. We're all here working on behalf of the collective for the
Hmm.
greater good in different capacities.
Hmm.
And that doesn't mean complete disassociation from humanity, right?
Right.
Like that's what you were talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like deep spirituality, we can be connected to our mission here with the ascension of humanity, but be very integrated for the greater good of humanity. What is our connectedness to all? And how does that work on behalf of the greater good?
Hmm.
Right? Because it does
Totally.
all change and differ. And I'll tell you, some people are far more sensitive to energies than others, and some people are really equipped to be able to do this transmutation work more so than others, right?
Hmm.
And that's fair. No greater than or no less than. I'll tell you,
Totally.
since my ascension over the past couple of years and moving out of my dark night and moving into the integrative aspect of this higher level consciousness that I've integrated into my being in public places alone is very difficult for me. Where I used to be this very outgoing, like, I don't know. I think there's a little bit of me that would put on a mask to be able to function, right? And my coping mechanisms would be a little bit of numbing agencies, but being so clean with my energy and only bringing through things that are aligned with my greatest good. It's also like I have to be very aware of what is going to be too much for my nervous
Hmm.
system, and I have to trust that. Otherwise,
Hmm.
like I'm taken out for like a full day where I
Hmm.
I get sick. Like, I
Mhm.
get so sick when I'm overexposed to negative energy, and I gotta say, like, it's easier for me to transmute and then bring through messages and share it with for the greater good so that that energy can be integrated into humanity, right? That's
Mhm.
more my calling than being on the front lines to be able to, you know what I mean? Like, it's just who I am, and I
Totally.
gotta be aware of that. But I
Yeah.
think that when I am exposed to information like I was this past week, how difficult that was for me to, like, take it in. At least, like, I didn't know how I was gonna function.
Mhm.
And I'm like, "I'm not even experiencing this," but I could feel it like I was,
Mhm.
you know? Like,
Mhm.
I could feel the energy
Mhm.
like I was, and it was horrible. It was
Mhm.
horrible. But my guidance team, exactly what you said, and it was your words when you were talking to me, helping me, and you're like, "Babe, this is for you to transmute.
Mhm.
Like, you're given this gift to help these babies
Mhm.
transmute this energy. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been given this."
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, fuck, okay, here we go. Right. And so, do I want to experience it on a regular basis? No, I'm not going to. Like, I'm really like almost like PTSD looking at my phone now because I
Mhm.
don't want that.
Mhm.
But integrating the energy to be received in the highest level consciousness to send out the vibration of universal love that connects each and every one of our hearts in every capacity that I have the ability to do is what I'm being led to do.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that's so beautifully said because you're right. It's going to look so different for each person and how we move information, how we move energy, what we do, like, how we exist in this world as, light beings, right? That's different for everybody. Well, everyone has different default settings as to, where they're called and what that looks like. And so
Yeah.
you're so right. It takes a level of discernment. And what they were showing me is like, this feeling of like when it hits you in some way, whether it's like put on you through, random experience of like, oh, you something popped up on social media or somebody says something to you, or whether you're seeking it out and then it feels like paralyzing. It's like it's that shift between the humanness of the trauma and the hardship, and our system is like, oh, no thank you, that feels unsafe. And like if that's been you and you've turned away, it's be gentle with yourself because
Yeah.
there's been something in you that's like, that feels deeply unsafe, I can't go there. And so it's not to shame or to say like bad you for doing that. It's that's your system's way of trying to keep you safe.
Yeah.
Where that shifts is they're showing me like through the heart space and through the energetics piece. It's like whatever those I don't want to say activism because activism can be a form of it. Transmuting energy can be a form of it. Speaking to it with other people, helping other people open their mind to how can I be of support of greater collective consciousness and community
Yeah.
and wellness of everyone. It can
Yeah.
look so many different ways, but it's like, can you tap into the heart of it and say, oh, how do I transmute this? Like, what does this look like for me? And then it moves, right? It
Yes.
stops here and it feels suffocating and it feels like
Yes.
a threat to our system because it
Yes.
is, right?
Yes.
Like it is.
Yes. Yes,
We're
Elise.
experiencing the threat to other people. So then, like, move it through in whatever
Yes.
way. And that's not always easy, right? We're talking about as if, like, just move it through. But the more you practice it, the more it becomes more easeful. And again, it's not to say that then you like seek out trauma and like trauma dump on yourself,
No.
but move through life in a way where you're kind of straddling both worlds and you're
Yeah.
not just completely disconnecting. Because the other thing they were saying when you were speaking was, what do we think Christ consciousness is? Like, what did Jesus Christ do? It wasn't all just love and light for him. He experienced a lot of suffering. And I do
Yeah.
not claim to be an expert on, all of that. But Christ consciousness is not inherently just like everything sunshine and rainbows and beauty, right? It's the collective experience, which is that when we are embodied, it is inherently going to be flawed to some degree. Even the most divinely
It
beautiful
has to be
people
on Earth. On
F
Earth, it
up.
has to be, or else
Yeah.
we get knocked off of our axis and it doesn't exist. Like, Earth can't exist in just light form with absolutely no
Yeah.
density. It can't. It
Yeah.
can't. There's no such thing. But with the 5D and 3D, it will, okay, this is, I need to share this vision that came through with my guides helping me to understand this shift. Because I've spoken before how it's like, like when you look through an atlas back in the day when they'd have those like superimposed like sheets, those like clear
Mm,
sheets that would
mhm,
go over each other.
mhm.
And so it looked like it was all one, but really there was a
Oh, I
divide, but they
love
were
that.
like, yeah. And so that's like that is kind of the understanding of the fifth and third dimensional frequency.
I
They
love that
are
analogy.
actively creating a whole, but are separate. Okay. So like one, but separate, like that glass wall kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So
such a
that's
good
a good
analogy.
yeah, it's a good understanding. And you can absolutely acknowledge what is happening as a whole from one aspect to the other without jumping pages and then like fully becoming that side. Do you know what I mean? But
Mhm,
here's the thing, with the shift happening, it's not like cut, sealed, delivered, that's it. Now we're just on one side, they're on the other. We can witness them, they can witness us. We see it happening, but we don't feel it. That's not true
mhm,
because we still feel the energetic resonance that is within this universal consciousness. Okay. So, an energetic resonance from that aspect, that lower density frequency, is still occurring within our consciousness.
mhm,
Number one. And number two, a great visual representation that they gave me was when we're cleaning up our energy field and we are integrating into this higher, like this ascension period, it's almost like when you're cleaning out a yard. They showed me this beautiful, fruitful, like garden, okay, that needs to be cleaned out. So we're maintenance, we're like planting the seeds, we're like this really fruitful like soil and like the smells and the trees and whatever in this beautiful like gardened area. And then you notice that a part of this area that has been covered for a very long time by some like tarp or something. And you're like, oh shit, like I gotta go clean up that area, right? Like I gotta unearth, I gotta surface the thing that has been hidden underneath this forever. And I know what's underneath is gonna be yucky, and I don't want to see what's underneath, but I have to move it, right? And then all of a sudden, one, two, three, right? And then like shit goes flying and these bugs come out and it's like, where's the light? Where's the light? What's going on? Everything's disturbed. Everything that was hidden underneath here for so long is being exposed. And it's like, fuck. And
mhm,
then it's like, so picture yourself standing there and be like, "Ah," like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to experience it. This is so fucking gross, right?
mhm, mhm,
So they gave that to me and I'm like, "Oh my god, that is exactly how it feels." Because the shit that is being exposed right now needs to be exposed at least, but it is
mhm,
so gross, but it needs to be exposed. It's all coming to the surface.
mhm,
And my guys have shown me that, and that, yes, there's multiple different levels of reasoning of souls that are involved in that for the surfacing and that, like, higher level soul doing this work, man, that is some serious mission work to be able to
mhm,
surface this stuff, to be involved in it. Like
mhm,
that shit's crazy, right? Like,
mhm,
so when it's exposed and we're being exposed to it and it's like it's in our consciousness, know that it takes a hot sec for things to get figured out and for things to like integrate into wholeness then so that you can be able to be in your garden with the seeds and the plants that you've put down there and you've created for your life. You've created it, but just know within that same existence there's shit flying around too. There's
totally.
that, yeah, and it takes a minute for everything to kind of find itself and sort it out, and you get rid of some of the like toxicity that takes out your plants and some of the like sprays that might be around that are going to kill your vibe, right? But it doesn't happen overnight, and you can't just turn your back to it to think that it doesn't exist anymore because it still very much exists. But
Totally.
it's how you want to create your garden, your fields, your world, well, lifting the surface and having to deal with this too in your yard. You don't have to go and then go underneath it to
Mhm.
acknowledge that it's
Roll
there,
around in the
because
bugs and the
that
mold
feels
and the
so gross,
you don't need to do that.
right? You don't need to
Yeah.
do that, but you
But you
don't
have to
want it
tend to
sitting
it.
there either. You have to tend to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's such a great it's such a great analogy. And even the piece of like it takes time, right? And what I think is so I mean, I have said before I'm not an astrology expert by any stretch. I turn to the smart people for that. And I think like I don't know many astrologers that are saying I don't think any really are right now like, "Oh, everything's like super chill."
Yeah, what a
But
great time. This must be
but
really
every
easy for everyone.
astrologer is like shit's getting real and like the planets are in places, the comets, the things, all of the spacey stuff is like in places where it is blowing things up, it is uncovering the moldy garden, it is and like
Yeah,
it's it's amplifying that energy. So I just think I always love when it's like an astrologer will come out and be like, yeah, this week is gonna be crazy. And then you look at, open up your phone and all of a sudden every headline is like, this has happened and this has happened, an earthquake and blah blah blah. And again, that's causing so much harm for so many people. But it's like if these things, it was causing harm anyways, right? The stuff was happening. It's just now we're bringing all that
aware of it.
moldy, dirty grossness up. We got to
Yeah.
tend to it collectively.
Yes.
And and through that, it can't be one person, it can't be the people in it, it can't be, it has to be collectively we
That's right.
tend to it together, and
Yes.
that is how it changes,
Yes.
right? The community
Yes.
garden doesn't get cleaned up by one person, it's a community.
That's right. Yes. And so ask your guidance team, connect yourself in to like allow me, help me, guide me into the level of consciousness that I need to be in, that I came here to do for this ascension period, because we all have different missions. If
Totally.
you're watching this, you're super aware of this. So like really lean into and open your heart to receiving what it is that's your part in this ascension, and know that I'm sending you lots of love.
Yeah, yeah.
Love,
And you
love,
know
love.
what, like in the comments, ask questions. How, if for you it's like I don't know how to do that, right? There's so many wonderful teachers out there, there's so many wonderful energy workers out there, there's so many different ways you can support yourself. If you're like, this just feels like a lot and I don't know what to do with it, that's okay. Reach out to people
Totally.
who can support you in that, because again, it's community, right? We're
Mhm.
not doing this alone.
Yeah.
We reach out to each other, we reach out to Ginette, the three of us have our little group text and we're like, what the fuck is going on? And we provide that context for each other. Like that's one of the fundamental ways that we're moving through it.
Community.
Find
Absolutely.
community,
And
connect.
being in your like most authentic self.
Mm,
Because you don't have to go outside of yourself to search for what you're going to do. Essentially, the more that you really like connect into your authentic self and like who you are in your guidance, trust that you'll be able and open to receive like what you are and who you are and what your place in this collective is. You know what I mean? And
mhm,
sometimes it's simply being in your light so that when you go get your groceries, you're holding a frequency around you that helps raising the vibration of the kid behind you. You never
mhm,
know. And it's not
mhm,
up to you to no, to micromanage that.
mhm,
It's just up to you to really connect in with your most authentic self.
mhm. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
I love these conversations with you, Elise. We can go
Me
deep. I
too.
just love it. Oh, I
Me
appreciate it so
too. That was
much.
like a fire hose. Sorry for
That
everyone if
was.
that felt like a lot on a Friday. I
Wow.
was just tuning in
So
and here we
happy
go.
Friday. Have a good weekend.
Drink your coffee.
Fifth dimensional, third dimensional, fifth dimensional, like integration. I don't know what this can be called, but it's a big one. And I hope
Mhm.
that everybody got some tidbits from this and that it resonated and landed with whomever it needed to. Any questions or comments, please leave them downstairs, downstairs in the comments.
we'll see you
Like,
next day.
share, subscribe. It helps the channel. We love coming together to talk about this kind of stuff. And I hope that this landed. I really do, because together, in all of our authentic capacity, we are here for a reason for this ascension. And it looks different for everybody. So, sending out so much love. And I hope that everybody enjoys some sort of sunshine this weekend and connective community. So, lots of love. Thanks again, Elyse. We'll see you next week.